Ethan Ward had never expected life to hand him a starship. He lived on the dusty frontier station of Corin's Hold, a place where the spaceports were little more than metal sheds, and the stars outside were so close that sometimes they looked like holes in the sky. He spent most of his days repairing old freighters for the few miners and traders who still passed through. Money was scarce, but he liked his life. Quiet, predictable, and simple. That was until the message arrived. It was a thin, flickering screen on his workbench. A formal notice from the Galactic Registry announced that his uncle, someone he barely remembered except for a few harsh words from childhood, had passed away. The registry stated that he had left behind a starship and an old service robot, both listed under Ethan's name. Ethan stared at the message, his fingers hovering over the console. The idea seemed absurd. He had never seen his uncle's ship or the robot, and the man himself had been a shadowy figure who only showed up in passing. Yet the legal documents were clear. Everything was his. He sold what little he owned in Corin's Hold and booked passage to the docking bay where the ship was anchored. The trip was long and uneventful, giving him time to imagine what he might find. Maybe a sleek exploration vessel brimming with advanced technology, maybe a cargo ship full of riches, or maybe, he thought with a hint of worry, a dangerous relic better left untouched. His stomach tightened as the station came into view. The dock was far from the main port, an abandoned section where few ships ventured. Even from a distance, he could see the hulking silhouette of the Wayfarer's Echo, its hull caked in dust and streaked with rust. As he approached, Ethan felt a strange mixture of excitement and unease. The ship was enormous, easily 3 times the size of any freighter he had ever repaired. Its paint was faded and panels were dented or missing. A thin layer of ice had formed along the upper hull, evidence that the station's automated maintenance systems had long since given up. Ethan parked his small transport pod near the docking bay and stared up at the ship. He could hear the faint whine of the station's life support systems through the empty bay, a reminder that he was truly alone in this part of the station. The airlock hissed as he stepped inside, and the smell of old metal and machinery hit him immediately. Dust floated in the shafts of dim light that managed to pierce the bay's dirty windows. The Wayfarer's Echo was silent, but its size was overwhelming. Ethan wandered through the corridors, his footsteps echoing off the high ceilings. Control panels were smashed or sparking, wires hanging loose like the veins of a dying machine. There was no sign of life except for one thing: the robot. It sat in the corner of what appeared to have been a storage bay, partially dismantled and covered in a thin layer of dust. Its body was scratched, its arms bent at odd angles, and its optical sensors were dark. Despite its damaged state, Ethan could see that it was still a service-class robot, built for repair and maintenance, perhaps even defense. He knelt beside it and ran his hands over the cold metal. There was a faint label on its back, R9. He muttered the name to himself and then, almost instinctively, he connected his diagnostic tool to its data port. Sparks flew. The robot's chest panel slid open with a hiss, and a faint blue light blinked inside. R9's system struggled to boot, coughing out fragments of code and images that flickered across its internal display. "Hello? System? Corrupted core? Protect?" It whispered in a robotic voice, pausing between words as if struggling to remember. Ethan frowned. "Protect what?" he asked aloud. The robot's optical sensors lit up, briefly glowing red, then dimmed again. It repeated almost desperately, "Protect core hidden." Ethan had no idea what it meant, but he knew this was no ordinary repair task. Someone, or something, had left a secret behind. Over the next few hours, Ethan worked tirelessly. He repaired R9's broken circuits, replaced damaged actuators, and stabilized its memory banks. Each repair brought small improvements, but the robot remained erratic. Its words were fragmented, its movements jerky. Still, there was a spark of life that Ethan couldn't ignore. As he worked, he noticed small notes scribbled in a thin metallic ink on the walls of the storage bay, almost invisible unless you looked closely. They were in his uncle's handwriting, cryptic instructions about maintenance and security protocols. One note stood out. If he inherits this, he must learn to trust only the ship and the robot. The rest is dangerous. By evening, Ethan managed to get R9 fully online. The robot's optical sensors glowed a soft blue, and its voice was steadier, though still cautious. "Greetings, Ethan Ward. I am R9. I have been waiting for you," it said. Ethan felt a chill. The robot knew him, in a way that seemed impossible. "Waiting for me? You don't even know me," he said, trying to mask his unease. R9 paused, then replied, "I know enough. The core must be protected. You are responsible now." Ethan didn't understand, but he was intrigued. The mention of a core suggested that the ship held more than rust and broken panels. He decided to explore. The Wayfarer's echo was vast, with corridors that twisted and turned like the inner workings of a machine. Every turn seemed to whisper secrets of the past. In what appeared to be the command deck, he found shattered control panels, scorched walls, and flickering lights. The captain's chair was cracked, and the main console was coated in dust. Yet beneath the decay, he could feel a sense of purpose, a history waiting to be uncovered. While scanning the ship's data logs, Ethan stumbled upon a recording. It was his uncle, pale and tired, speaking directly to him. "Ethan," the recording began, "if you are seeing this, the truth is close. Do not trust anyone. And whatever happens, do not open the vault alone. The ship holds more than you realize. Protect the robot. Protect the core. Humanity's future may depend on it." The message ended abruptly, leaving a lingering sense of urgency. Ethan's mind raced. What had his uncle discovered that was so important? Why hide it in a derelict ship with a broken robot? He looked at R9, whose sensors seemed to study him intently. "I don't even know where to start," Ethan admitted. R9's response was simple yet firm. "The ship remembers. I remember fragments. Together, we can uncover what is hidden." Ethan realized that this was no longer a simple inheritance. It was a mission, one that demanded courage, curiosity, and trust. The first night aboard the ship was eerie. Ethan slept in a small quarters section, leaving R9 powered down in the storage bay. Outside, the stars gleamed through cracks in the hull. He could hear the soft hum of the ship's life support systems, a reminder that, despite appearances, the Wayfarer's echo was still alive in some way. Dreams of distant galaxies and ancient machines haunted his sleep, and he woke with a sense of purpose. This ship, broken though it was, might be the key to something far greater than himself. Over the next few days, Ethan began exploring systematically. He discovered maintenance tunnels that snaked through the ship, filled with forgotten tools and mechanical skeletons. There were storage bays with supplies that had long expired, and personal quarters filled with mementos of his uncle's travels. In one compartment, he found old star maps marked with strange coordinates, places he had never heard of. He realized that his uncle had been a traveler of secrets, someone who charted paths that most humans had never dared to follow. R9 slowly regained functionality, assisting Ethan with repairs and occasionally showing flashes of memory that hinted at past missions. Each fragment was a puzzle piece. Together, they began piecing together the history of the Wayfarer's echo. The ship had seen battles, evaded dangers, and carried cargo of unknown importance. Ethan realized that he was now part of that story, a story that his uncle had carefully prepared for him to inherit. One evening, while exploring a particularly dark corridor, Ethan discovered a panel that seemed out of place. Behind it was a small compartment, carefully sealed and untouched for years. Inside lay a strange crystalline object, pulsating faintly with an inner light. Ethan felt a mix of awe and fear. He had no idea what it was, but the energy it radiated was unmistakable. R9 reacted immediately, stepping forward and extending its arm. "The prime seed," it said in a voice tinged with urgency. "It must be protected. It is not for untrained hands." Ethan's heart pounded. He had expected treasure, maybe data, but this was something else entirely. He lifted the object carefully, feeling its warmth and subtle vibrations. R9 guided him back to a secure section of the ship, warning that others might come looking. Ethan knew that the inheritance was more than a ship and a robot. It was a legacy, one that carried responsibility far beyond anything he had imagined. Somewhere out in the vastness of space, forces were aware of this object, and if they discovered it, they would not hesitate to take it by force. As he sat in the dim light of the ship's corridor, holding the crystalline object, Ethan made a decision. He would uncover the secrets of the Wayfarer's Echo, repair R9 fully, and protect the prime seed at all costs. He did not yet understand the full importance of what he held, but he knew this: his life had changed forever. The frontier station where he once lived a simple life seemed distant now, almost unreal. The stars outside the hull were no longer mere points of light. They were destinations, challenges, and possibilities. And somewhere in the darkness, the galaxy waited for him to take his first step. Ethan sat in the dim glow of the corridor, still holding the crystalline object that R9 called the prime seed. Its faint light pulsed gently in his hands, as if alive. He could feel a strange warmth spreading through his fingers, and an odd sense of calm washed over him. Yet beneath that calm was a rising tension. Someone, somewhere, wanted this object. He could feel it in his chest, a silent warning. R9 hovered nearby, its sensors scanning every corner of the ship. "We must be careful," it said. "The ship is old but not forgotten. Others may come looking for this." Ethan nodded, still studying the object. "Why did my uncle hide it here? And what is it really?" he asked, more to himself than to the robot. R9's optical sensors glowed brighter. "It is older than humans, but its purpose is for them. Your uncle believed humanity was ready. You may be ready too, but danger is near." Ethan swallowed hard. The galaxy had always seemed so distant, full of cold stars and silent voids. Now, danger felt close, almost breathing in the same corridors with him. He decided that before anything else, he needed to understand the ship better. The Wayfarer's Echo was enormous, with maintenance tunnels, living quarters, and control rooms that stretched far beyond what he had seen. Some sections were sealed, the locks rusty but intact, suggesting they had not been opened in years. Ethan spent hours wandering, mapping the layout in his mind. He found the engineering bay, filled with broken machinery and unused tools. Sparks flew when he tried to power on some of the old systems, but R9 guided him carefully, helping him stabilize the circuits and avoid serious damage. During his exploration, Ethan discovered strange markings on the walls, etched into the metal with precision. They were symbols he did not recognize, but R9 seemed to react strongly when he approached them. "These are warnings," it said, its voice tense. "Your uncle recorded them. They are instructions hidden in plain sight. Only those who understand can follow them safely." Ethan traced a finger over the symbols. They seemed to form a map of some kind, guiding him to sections of the ship he had not yet explored. His curiosity grew. Every step he took was filled with a mix of fear and excitement. One day, as he worked in the lower maintenance tunnels, he found a panel slightly ajar. Behind it was a tiny compartment, and inside lay a small data cube. Ethan carefully removed it and inserted it into his portable reader. The cube contained fragments of his uncle's logs, detailing missions that spanned decades. The entries described dangerous encounters with unknown entities, secret deliveries to distant planets, and mentions of an artifact called the Prime Seed. Each log painted a picture of a man who had risked everything to protect something the galaxy had forgotten. Ethan realized that his uncle had been more than a trader or explorer. He had been a guardian. R9 watched over him as he read the logs, occasionally adding fragments of its own memory. "The Prime Seed is a key," it explained. "A key to knowledge, to power, and to responsibility. Your uncle believed it should never fall into the wrong hands. That is why he left it to you." Ethan looked up at the robot. "Why me?" he asked. "Why would he trust me with something so important?" R9 paused, as if considering how much to reveal. "He believed in human potential," it said finally. "He believed you could rise to the challenge." Ethan had to admit, the weight of the responsibility pressed on him. He had been an ordinary mechanic, living a quiet life, and now he held a secret older than civilization itself. Yet alongside the weight was a strange thrill. This was bigger than anything he had imagined, a chance to be part of something greater than himself. As he continued exploring, he noticed signs that he was not alone. Small disturbances in the dust, panels slightly moved, the faint hum of a nearby engine that did not belong to the Wayfarer's Echo. R9's sensors picked up subtle energy readings, traces of life or machinery moving outside the ship. "They are here," the robot said quietly. "Others are searching for the Prime Seed. They know it exists." Ethan's heart raced. He had assumed the artifact had been hidden for decades, but now it seemed time was running out. Determined to protect the seed, Ethan decided to find a secure location within the ship. He discovered an old vault, deep within the lower decks, sealed with manual locks and reinforced panels. Dust coated the surfaces, and the air smelled of oil and metal. It was clear this section had not been entered in years. He carried the Prime Seed inside, setting it carefully on a padded table, and began reinforcing the vault with old materials he found in storage. R9 assisted, repairing circuits and installing rudimentary security measures. While working, Ethan found more of his uncle's notes, tucked into a maintenance manual. They described an ancient civilization, long extinct, and a technology that could change the course of species across galaxies. The Prime Seed was central to this technology, a vessel of knowledge waiting for the right hands. Ethan felt the enormity of it. This was not treasure. This was a responsibility to humanity itself. That evening, as he rested in the nearby crew quarters, he listened to the soft hum of the ship and R9's low mechanical breathing. The robot's presence was comforting, a reminder that he was not alone in facing the challenges ahead. He reviewed the maps and logs again, realizing that his uncle had left a path to follow, but not the answers themselves. The journey would test him, and the decisions he made could change everything. The next day, Ethan decided to investigate the upper decks. The control room had been heavily damaged, but he found operational stations among the wreckage. He activated the ship's limited systems and was surprised to find basic AI functions coming online. The AI greeted him with a synthetic but warm voice. "Welcome, Ethan Ward. Systems are degraded but operational. You are recognized as the ship's new guardian." Ethan felt a thrill. The ship itself was acknowledging him. "I am here to help," he said softly, almost in disbelief. Using the AI and R9 together, Ethan began piecing together the ship's history. It had traveled to remote systems, hidden from the main galactic routes, and carried sensitive cargo for decades. The Prime Seed had always been at the center of its missions, hidden from anyone who might exploit it. The ship had survived attacks, natural hazards, and mechanical failure, all while safeguarding the artifact. Ethan realized that the legacy his uncle left was more than just a ship. It was a living, breathing guardian, with him now as its captain. As days turned into a week, Ethan's routine became a balance of maintenance, exploration, and study. He repaired engines, patched leaks, and stabilized power systems. He explored storage bays filled with supplies and tools, noting everything that could aid him in the future. Each discovery was small, but together they formed a picture of a life dedicated to protection and secrecy. R9 shared fragmented memories, some of them terrifying. Encounters with hostile forces, near-death experiences, and the lengths his uncle had gone to protect the prime seed. One morning, as Ethan checked a lower maintenance tunnel, he noticed fresh markings, footprints in the dust, small signs of entry that had not been there before. His heart raced. Someone had come aboard, and they were searching. R9 scanned the corridors. "They are careful," it said. "They do not know the full layout, but they know enough to search." Ethan realized that his uncle's warnings were true. Danger was close, and he needed to act fast. He decided to move the prime seed to an even more secure location, one that even the AI did not initially recognize. Using R9's assistance, he navigated through hidden passages and maintenance shafts to a section of the ship rarely accessed. He installed additional security measures, camouflaged the area, and ensured the artifact would be difficult to locate. It was exhausting work, but Ethan felt a sense of purpose he had never known before. By evening, he had completed the preparations. He sat beside the hidden vault, R9 beside him, and reflected on how much his life had changed. The derelict ship, once a symbol of decay and abandonment, had become a fortress and a home. The robot, once broken and silent, was now a partner, guiding him through the mysteries left by a man he barely knew. And the prime seed, pulsating softly, was a reminder that there were forces in the galaxy beyond imagination, forces that depended on humanity's courage and integrity. As night fell, Ethan gazed out at the stars. Somewhere beyond the station, there were people looking for the prime seed. But he was ready. He had a ship, a robot, and a mission. The galaxy was vast, and the challenges ahead were uncertain, but for the first time, Ethan felt truly alive. He understood that protecting the artifact was not just about hiding it, it was about understanding it, learning from it, and preparing for the day when humanity might need it most. And so, with determination burning in his chest, Ethan Ward prepared for the trials ahead, unaware of the forces that were already moving toward him. The journey would test him, push him to his limits, and force him to grow in ways he could not yet imagine. But he was no longer just a mechanic from Corin's hold. He was the guardian of the Wayfarer's Echo, the protector of the prime seed, and the inheritor of a legacy that could change the fate of humanity itself. Ethan had been aboard the Wayfarer's Echo for over a week now, and each day felt heavier with responsibility. The prime seed rested in its hidden compartment, safe for the moment, but he knew that safety could be temporary. R9 moved beside him silently, scanning corridors and running diagnostics, its sensors alert for even the faintest signs of intrusion. It was early morning when Ethan noticed the first clear evidence that someone else had boarded the ship. In a maintenance tunnel near the lower decks, the dust had been disturbed, footprints too large to belong to him or R9. Small tools had been shifted slightly, and the faint sound of a grav-grip device scraping against metal echoed through the air ducts. Ethan froze, his heart racing. "They are inside," R9 said, its voice low but urgent. "And they know we have something of value." Ethan's mind spun. Who could it be? The galactic underworld? Raiders? Or perhaps a faction who had learned about the prime seed through his uncle's secret dealings? Whatever the case, they were not to be underestimated. Ethan quickly retrieved a handheld scanner and followed the trail of footprints through the corridors. The ship's dim lighting flickered, casting shadows that seemed to move on their own. He realized how little he knew about his uncle's enemies. The logs mentioned dangerous factions and relentless pursuers, but no one could have prepared him for this, a real, immediate threat inside his own ship. R9 interfaced with the ship's AI to lock down critical sections. Doors sealed, lights flashed in warning, and emergency protocols engaged automatically. "They are methodical," R9 said. "Not just intruders. They know what they are looking for." Ethan swallowed hard. "Then we can't fight them head-on," he replied. "We have to outsmart them." They retreated to a maintenance shaft that ran parallel to the ship's main corridors, moving quietly while keeping the prime seed secure. Ethan could feel the tension rising. Every footstep, every metallic creak sounded louder in the quiet of the ship. R9's optical sensors scanned the area constantly, catching glimmers of movement, shadowy figures moving through the corridors, searching for something hidden. Finally, they reached a small junction near the reactor room. Ethan paused, trying to plan their next move. "We need to find out who they are," he said, voice barely a whisper. R9's sensors locked onto one of the intruders hiding near a storage bay. Ethan peered through a small viewport and saw armored figures, their faces obscured by helmets, scanning the ship with grav scanners. "The Orcs Consortium," R9 said quietly. "They have been searching for the prime seed for decades. Your uncle fought them off before. We must be careful. They are dangerous." The realization hit Ethan hard. These were not simple raiders. The Orcs were ruthless, calculating, and had been hunting the artifact for years. He clenched his fists, feeling a mix of fear and determination. "Then we have to protect it at all costs," he said. R9 nodded, extending its arms toward the maintenance shaft. "Follow me," it said. "I know a hidden route to the vault, but we must move quickly." As they navigated the narrow passages, R9 revealed fragments of memory it had never shared before. "I was damaged during an encounter with the Orcs," it explained. "Your uncle activated memory suppression to protect the coordinates of the prime seed. I could not remember everything, only enough to guard the ship until you arrived. I was never meant to forget completely, only to delay their knowledge." Ethan listened closely, absorbing the revelation. R9 had been more than a robot. It had been a guardian, loyal and intelligent, programmed to protect the artifact even if it meant risking itself. When they reached the vault, Ethan carefully reinforced the compartment, using spare panels and old maintenance materials to camouflage it further. The prime seed rested safely inside, its faint light pulsing steadily. "They will not find it here," Ethan whispered, though he knew it was only temporary. "Not if we are smart." R9's sensors scanned the surrounding corridors. "They are closing in," it warned. "You must be ready to act." Ethan realized that hiding alone would not be enough. They needed to understand the artifact and the ship's systems better if they wanted to survive. He decided to access the ship's main AI core, which had been dormant since their initial arrival. The AI had basic functions active, but the full system held decades of data, maps, and operational knowledge that could help them. Using R9's guidance, Ethan climbed to the central bridge, navigating through narrow shafts and hidden passages. The bridge was battered, but still functional. He interfaced with the AI, initiating a full system boot. Lights flickered as the ship awakened, systems humming to life in a complex symphony of energy and sound. "Welcome, Ethan Ward," the AI said, its voice steady and calm. "You are recognized as the ship's guardian. I am ready to assist." Ethan took a deep breath. "We need information about the Orcs and about the prime seed," he said. The AI responded immediately, projecting data streams into the holographic display. Ethan studied the maps, noting Orcs patrol routes, known bases, and historical encounters. It became clear that the Orcs were relentless hunters, operating across multiple star systems with resources far greater than anything Ethan had imagined. While studying the data, R9 interjected with its fragmented memory. "Your uncle left a contingency plan. He believed you would arrive when the Orcs were most active. There are hidden systems, emergency protocols, and traps that can protect the ship. But you must be decisive. Ethan nodded. He realized that indecision could cost them everything. Just as they began planning, alarms echoed through the ship. The Orcs had found one of the hidden entrances, and armored figures were advancing toward the bridge. Ethan's heart pounded. "We have to act now," he said. R9 extended its defensive modules, activating non-lethal deterrents designed to disable intruders without destroying them. Panels slid open, revealing concealed energy barriers and automated lockdown systems. The first RX intruder stepped into the corridor. A pulse of energy from R9's defensive system sent him stumbling backward, disoriented but unharmed. The second tried to flank them, only to be caught in another pulse. Ethan moved quickly, using the bridge's consoles to lock doors and reroute power to defensive systems. Every move required focus, precision, and trust in R9 and the AI. As the confrontation continued, R9 revealed the full story of its past. "I was damaged during a mission to protect the Prime Seed from the Orcs," it said. "Your uncle activated memory suppression to hide the vault. I retained fragments of my programming to guide the next Guardian. That Guardian is you. You must continue the mission, Ethan." Ethan felt a surge of respect and gratitude. This robot, once broken and silent, had waited decades to fulfill its purpose, and now it trusted him. After a tense struggle, Ethan managed to guide the intruders into corridors rigged with traps. The RX were cautious, but they underestimated the ship's design. Energy barriers, automated doors, and pressure-sensitive floors created obstacles they could not easily overcome. Ethan watched from a safe location, directing R9 and the AI to control the flow of the intruders' movement. The strategy worked, slowing them down and giving Ethan a sense of control he had never felt before. Finally, the last intruder approached the vault. Ethan and R9 moved quickly, activating an emergency concealment protocol. The vault's location shifted in the AI's holographic display, and the Prime Seed was hidden behind layers of reinforced panels. The intruder searched frantically, unable to locate it. Ethan felt a mixture of relief and exhilaration. They had survived the first wave, but he knew the Orcs would not give up so easily. In the quiet that followed, Ethan and R9 reflected on what had happened. "We've delayed them, but they will return," R9 said. "Your uncle believed humanity could rise to the challenge. Now it is your turn to prove it." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on him. He had inherited more than a ship and a robot. He had inherited a mission that could affect the future of countless lives. That night, Ethan sat beside the concealed vault, watching the Prime Seed pulse softly. He realized that the challenges ahead would not only test his intelligence and courage, but also his morality and judgment. The artifact was not just a tool, it was a test. How he chose to protect it, study it, and eventually use it would define his path and the legacy of his uncle's work. He slept lightly, knowing that the next encounter with the Orcs could come at any moment. The ship hummed quietly around him, alive with ancient systems, hidden passages, and memories of missions long past. R9 stood vigil, its sensors scanning continuously for threats. Ethan understood that he was no longer merely a mechanic. He was the guardian of the Wayfarer's echo, the protector of a secret older than most civilizations, and a student of a legacy that demanded courage and wisdom. By morning, Ethan had resolved to explore more of the ship's secrets. The AI's full capabilities remained largely untapped, and the Prime Seed had only begun to reveal its nature. There were systems, logs, and hidden compartments waiting to be discovered. Each discovery would bring knowledge, but also new dangers. He felt ready. With R9 by his side and the AI assisting, he would uncover the truth, protect the artifact, and prepare for the day when humanity might need him the most. Ethan Ward had survived his first real encounter with the Orcs. He had learned that the ship itself was a partner, that R9 was a loyal and capable ally, and that the Prime Seed was a treasure far greater than he had imagined. The galaxy was vast, dangerous, and full of unknown threats, but he was ready to face them. The journey ahead promised more secrets, more challenges, and more discoveries. And Ethan was determined to rise to meet them, fulfilling the legacy his uncle had left and embracing the extraordinary role fate had handed him. Ethan woke to the faint hum of the Wayfarer's echo. The ship was quiet now, but the tension from the previous encounters with the Orcs lingered in his chest. He sat beside the concealed vault where the Prime Seed rested, its light pulsing softly like a heartbeat. R9 stood nearby, scanning the corridors for any remaining threats. The intruders had retreated, but Ethan knew it was only a matter of time before they returned, more determined than ever. He realized that hiding alone would not be enough. The Prime Seed was not simply an object to protect. It was a key, a repository of knowledge left by an ancient civilization for the benefit of younger species. To fulfill his role, Ethan had to understand it, and to understand it, he needed the ship fully operational. He turned to R9 and the AI. "We need to activate the ship's full systems," he said. "If we're going to survive, we need every advantage we can get." The AI responded immediately, lights flickering across the bridge. "Systems are degraded but can be restored. Core functions will operate at partial capacity. Full activation will require energy from the reactor." Ethan nodded. He and R9 moved to the reactor room, bypassing damaged circuits and manually stabilizing energy conduits. Sparks flew, smoke hissed. But gradually the hum of the ship grew stronger. The AI's voice filled the corridors. "Welcome, Ethan Ward. The ship is now fully operational. I am at your command." Ethan felt a thrill. For the first time, the Wayfarer's echo seemed alive, not just metal and circuits, but a vessel ready to face the challenges ahead. He guided the AI to access the Prime Seed. The artifact reacted immediately, projecting a star map filled with unknown coordinates and strange symbols. Ethan studied the display, realizing that the seed was not a weapon. It was a blueprint, a guide for civilizations. It contained knowledge that could accelerate humanity's growth, unlock new technologies, and expand understanding of the universe. R9 scanned the projections, and its optical sensors glowed brighter than ever. "Your uncle believed humanity could rise to the challenge," it said. "The seed is a test. Its knowledge is for those who act wisely and responsibly." Ethan nodded, feeling the weight of responsibility pressing on him. The artifact was powerful, but it was also a challenge. He could feel the urgency in the air. The Orcs would not wait, and the galaxy itself seemed to demand action. Suddenly, the ship's sensors detected movement in the docking bays. The Orcs had returned, their fleet approaching the station with precision and intent. Ethan's heart raced. This was no longer a test of hiding or strategy. They wanted to take the Prime Seed by force. He turned to R9 and the AI. "We have to defend the ship and the seed," he said. "We can't let them take it." R9 extended its defensive modules, activating energy barriers and automated turrets. The ship's AI began rerouting power to shields and propulsion systems. Ethan moved to the bridge, hands flying over the controls. He felt a rush of adrenaline as the Orcs began boarding, cutting through the outer hull with grav tools. The corridors lit up with alarms, red lights flashing across the metallic walls. As the intruders entered, Ethan and R9 coordinated their defense. Energy barriers blocked passageways, while automated systems trapped and delayed the Orcs. Each time the intruders tried to advance, the ship itself seemed to respond, closing doors, activating defensive systems, and even creating diversions to protect the Prime Seed. Ethan realized that the Wayfarer's Echo was not just a vessel, it was a partner, a living guardian, and he was learning to command it. R9 led Ethan to a hidden control panel in the maintenance shafts. "Your uncle left contingency plans," the robot explained. "We can use the prime seed to project a defensive field, non-lethal but disabling. It will protect us while we find a permanent solution." Ethan worked quickly, following R9's guidance. The prime seed's light intensified, spreading through conduits and circuits, activating the hidden defensive matrix. The RX intruders were caught off guard, their movements slowed and equipment temporarily disabled. Ethan felt a sense of awe. The artifact was not a weapon in the traditional sense. It was a tool of intelligence, of protection, and of testing human ingenuity. He realized that his uncle had trusted him because he believed in humanity's ability to rise to challenges not with force alone, but with strategy, creativity, and courage. The RX regrouped, more cautious now, but their determination was clear. They began using advanced scanners to locate the prime seed, bypassing some of the ship's defensive measures. Ethan knew this was the final confrontation. He activated the AI's communication systems, sending a challenge directly to their fleet. "You will not take what you do not understand," he said firmly. "The prime seed is not for conquest. It is a legacy, and it will remain protected." For a moment, the corridor was silent. Then the RX responded, their voices distorted through the comm system. "Your uncle was clever, but you are young and inexperienced. Hand over the seed or face destruction." Ethan's jaw tightened. "We do not surrender," he replied, "and we do not fight for dominance. We protect what is meant for responsible use. Leave, or you will be stopped." The confrontation escalated as the RX attempted a direct boarding of the bridge. Ethan and R9 moved quickly, coordinating the ship's systems. The corridors shifted with automated panels, energy fields activated, and the intruders found themselves disoriented and slowed at every turn. Ethan realized that the ship itself, guided by his decisions, was a formidable ally. In the heart of the bridge, Ethan interfaced directly with the prime seed. Its crystalline structure pulsed, projecting holographic maps and data streams that illuminated the room. He saw the paths his uncle had taken, the challenges faced, and the locations of ancient knowledge scattered across the galaxy. The seed's energy radiated not as a weapon, but as a beacon of potential. It seemed to recognize Ethan, reacting to his presence with trust and alignment. With the RX closing in, Ethan activated the seed's protective field fully. A wave of energy spread through the corridors, disabling weapons and machinery temporarily, but leaving life intact. The intruders were trapped, confused, and unable to continue their assault. Ethan moved to secure the prime seed, ensuring it remained protected in the hidden vault. R9 monitored the intruders, ready to guide them out safely, but prevent them from accessing the artifact. Finally, after tense hours, the RX realized they could not overcome the combined power of the ship, the AI, R9, and Ethan's quick thinking. They retreated, leaving the Wayfarer's echo intact and the prime seed safe. Ethan sank into the captain's chair, exhausted but exhilarated. He had faced his first real test, and he had passed, not through brute force, but through ingenuity, trust, and courage. As the ship settled into quiet, Ethan reflected on what had happened. He understood now that his uncle had not only left him a ship and a robot, but a path, a way to rise to humanity's potential. The prime seed was more than an artifact. It was a challenge, a guide, and a responsibility. It was a reminder that humanity could face the unknown and succeed when guided by wisdom and courage. R9 approached, its sensors glowing softly. "You have done well," it said. "Your uncle believed you could rise to the challenge. You have proven yourself. But this is only the beginning. The galaxy is vast, and there are still discoveries to be made." Ethan nodded, feeling a sense of purpose stronger than ever. The ship, the robot, and the artifact were partners in a mission far greater than himself. The next days were spent repairing the ship, restoring systems, and studying the prime seed. Ethan learned to interface with its projections, discovering star maps, knowledge of advanced technology, and glimpses of civilizations long gone. He realized that the artifact's purpose was not to dominate, but to guide, to teach, and to protect. It was a gift for those willing to act responsibly. One evening, as the Wayfarer's echo drifted quietly among the stars, Ethan stood on the bridge, looking out at the galaxy. He felt a sense of wonder and determination. Somewhere out there, civilizations were growing, exploring, and learning. And now, he had a role in guiding humanity along that path. The challenges would be many, the dangers real. But he was no longer an ordinary mechanic from a small station. He was a guardian, a protector, and a student of a legacy that spanned centuries. The stars outside the hull sparkled like diamonds in the void, each one a reminder of the vastness and potential of the universe. Ethan knew that the Orcs would return someday, but he also knew that he was ready. With the ship fully operational, R9 by his side, and the prime seed secured, he could face any challenge. The galaxy was no longer a distant mystery. It was a canvas for human potential, and he had been given the tools to shape it. In the quiet moments that followed, Ethan allowed himself to dream. He imagined exploring distant worlds, uncovering lost knowledge, and helping humanity rise to its full potential. The Wayfarer's echo would carry him across the stars, a symbol of hope, courage, and responsibility. R9, once broken and silent, now moved confidently through the corridors, a loyal partner ready for whatever lay ahead. And at the heart of the ship, the prime seed pulsed gently, a reminder that the future was not something to fear, but something to protect, nurture, and guide. Ethan understood that he had inherited more than a ship and a robot. He had inherited a mission, a responsibility, and a legacy that could shape the course of humanity. With determination in his heart, he activated the ship's engines. The Wayfarer's echo hummed to life, the lights dancing across the bridge as energy flowed through every system. The ship lifted from the docking bay, and Ethan gazed out at the stars, feeling the vastness of the galaxy before him. He was ready. The journey ahead would be full of challenges, discoveries, and growth. But he knew that humanity had the potential to rise, to explore, and to thrive. Ethan Ward, once a quiet mechanic, now held the future in his hands. The Wayfarer's echo soared among the stars, a beacon of hope, wisdom, and courage. With R9 at his side and the prime seed safely protected, he would carry forward the legacy of his uncle, guiding humanity toward its destiny. The galaxy awaited, and Ethan was ready to answer its call.